Hey yarn friends, it's me, Kayla. So I've been asked to do some tutorials, but I've been hesitant to do it because I am in no way professional. I do not have a video set up to be professional, to even pretend to be professional or anything of the sorts. So it's just me and a cell phone, and it is what it is. And I'm very hesitant for doing tutorials because I know they just won't be as professional and clean cut as some others people's videos are. And so this is my attempt. Bear with me. And if you've never made tutorials or videos as such, it is very hard to concentrate on what you're doing, concentrate on is your camera still recording, and to concentrate on are you in your camera's space here, because it is very easy as you're working to pull your project towards you and you get off camera. But you know, and that does happen at times, and I just make sure that I jump back up and get on camera. So just bear with me. It's a lot to think about as you're doing this whole process. So today this tutorial is about making this little person. He's just a little person with arms and legs, and I will be showing how to make movable arms and legs. And he does sit up. I know you're looking at it from the top view down, but he does sit up. So he's just a little creature with arms and legs. So what you will need to make this is a small knitting machine. The little Singer machine works great, or the Addi works great, or any small size knitting machine. This knitting machine has 22 pegs, and so does the Singer. Okay, you will need yarn of your choice. You will need a 4 worsted weight yarn, so that's what you would need to work with, and that will make the body and the arms. You can use whatever colors you like. I will be using these safety eyes for the eyes. If you don't have safety eyes, that's fine. You can use you can use yarn and make your own eyes, and you can add a nose and mouth and such if you like. But I'm going to use these safety eyes for today's video. Okay, you're going to need some stuffing. And the way we use our stuffing is we spread it out and let all that air get up in there. And then as we add stuffing in, we just add a little bit at a time. And then we add some more on top and some more. And it's kind of just layering our stuffing in our pieces. And the other thing you will need for the arms and legs is a flower loom. This is a 12-peg flower loom. I purchased this one from Michael's. And you will need a loom knit pick. You will need some type of scissors. And you will need a tapestry needle and some stitch markers. So that's what you will need today to get started on our project. And this is what we will be making. All right, so here we go. Hey yarn friends. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a body for a stuffed animal, creature, or plushie, whatever you want to call it. So basically we're going to be making a tube. And I take my yarn, my number 4 weight yarn, and you can get these clips at like Dollar Tree for like chip clips. This particular one actually did come with the larger knitting machine that I got at Michael's, but a chip clip would work just the same. And not everyone does this. This is just something I like to do. It's not, I don't even see it recommended on other videos. This is just something I do because I like something just to hold that yarn down to give it a little bit of weight. So what I do is bring your yarn next to your first peg. This is my peg number 1, or needle number 1 rather. And I'm just going to lay this in beside it. And so what I'm going to do is I turn the handle. I'm going to go in front of and behind each needle all the way around, kind of weaving it in and out. So I'm going to go in front of, behind, front, behind, front, behind, front, and just do that all the way around. Until you get back to the last peg, needle, and you go behind it and bring it through your carriage and close it off. Okay, now we're going to slowly go around and do our cast on row. I'm trying to hold this, but just go all the way around. Okay, so now you're back to your first peg, and so we're going to do row 1. And go ahead and just pull you out a lot of your yarn. Just pull out your yarn so you have some, because you don't want it to like get to a tension part of pulling this out, unless this is like super empty on the inside and it just easily flows out. And what I do is just move this just a little so I can show you. I just place my yarn in my hand here, and I'm not really holding it tight. I'm not holding it at all, really. I just use that hand as kind of just a little tension guide. And so what we're going to do is just, I see a little spot here where my yarn kind of split. That's what was wrong with it. Let's see if I can't. I don't know if that's going to mess it up or not. We'll just try it. Okay, so we're just going to start going around. And we're going to complete, I believe, 35 rows. I'm going to do 35 rows and see how long that looks. Okay, we're at 35 rows. I'm just going to look at my piece here, and I think I want to make it a little bit longer. So I'm going to go to 40 rows. Okay, when you've got it to about 40 rows, I actually went one more, so it's 41, but that's okay. I'm going to just stretch my yarn out here and just get a good length. If it goes all the way across and back, it's a good length. And I'm going to snip that yarn. Okay, so then I'm going to thread this yarn. Okay, now I just slip the yarn out of the carriage, and I'm going to hold it under this last needle and turn it till I have 3 needles down and I have 3 yarns there. And what I'm going to do is just pick up the yarn, little loops right there. I'm just going to pick those up and then pull my yarn all the way through, and you'll get faster at that as you go along. But each time just bring up 3 more pegs and then just Slip your needle under this loop. Okay, getting back here to we only have 2 pegs left, and so what we're going to do is pull those off. Oh gosh. Now we can lift our piece out. We're just going to push that to the side. We can take off our clip, and we're going to stretch our fabric out. So you want to get to your end and stretch all those stitches. Just work your way down the fabric, stretching your stitches out really well. Okay, so this piece is 40 rows long. Now, this is what I want to tell you. If you want to make a very nice stuffy or plushy, and you don't want your stuffing to show through at all, make 2 of these. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a second one of these, and I will be back. Okay, so now I'm back, and I have made 2 tubes. They're both 40 rows. This one might look a little bit shorter. It's because I didn't sew up the end. I just kind of closed the end a little bit because I'm going to stuff this one. You can look at your 2 tubes and decide which one you want to be your outer layer, and then just push it to the side. And the one that's going to be your inside layer, let's stuff it. So just get stuffing and stretch your stuffing out. And because this is going to be 2 layers thick, we can stuff this really well. So just cram stuffing in there. If we wasn't making it 2 layers thick, I would not add so much stuffing, because you don't want stuffing to show through. So just keep adding your stuff in and pushing it in. We want to make it pretty tight in there, since we are doing a second layer. Sorry for my chair sounds squeaking. Get your stuffing all up in there pretty well so that it's good and tight. You can see some of the stuffing kind of through there. That's why we're going to make it 2 layers, so that doesn't show on your finished project. Okay, getting close to getting it full. And you can start kind of cinching that up a little bit to see how much more stuffing you need to put in there. I feel like it needs a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to add a little more stuffing to the top here. I don't know which end is going to be my head and which end is going to be the bottom, but I want them both stuffed very well. I feel like that end's pretty tight. I'm going to add just a little more right here and close it off. Okay, so then you can kind of just manipulate the stuffing. And if you need to like roll it in your hands to kind of get your stuffing to, you know, take shape. I feel like I could put a little bit more right here. It's kind of empty feeling right through there. So I'm just going to add another little fistful, about half of that, and see how it does. Maybe about a little bit more, just for the very end to close it. Okay, so I think I'm pretty happy with that. So then what I do is, I haven't sewed either end together yet, because I hadn't really decided which end is the head, which end is the bottom. So we're going to take that, get your second piece of tubing that you made, and let's stuff it on the inside. Now this is just what I do, because I just don't like the look of being able to see any stuffing. And I think this gives it a nice thick, kind of a more of a professional type look. It doesn't look as, you know, cheaply homemade. I feel like when it has the second layer on it. So just work your piece through. Okay. Now remember we had a string at each end, so pull that out, and then you also have this string. So you want to bring that up over this and begin to tighten it, but not all the way, and don't close it just yet. And the same for this other end. Don't close it all the way, but you kind of get it closing. Okay, now look at your piece. If your lines are twisted, you want to straighten your material. Try to get it where your lines are all straight. You may have to take your layer off and redo it, but get it so that it's straight, and you'll be more happy with your finished product. And I think I'm going to make this my bottom and this my head. So, in saying that, I'm going to add eyes. So, I want to look and see where I might want to add my eyes. I think I'll just divide my body up into, like, the body's a little bit more, almost halfway, but just a tiny bit up. And this will be my head, and this will be the body. So, to divide that off to make the head from the body, I'll take a piece of yarn, just a nice size piece of yarn. It doesn't have to be super long, just as long as it'll go all the way around this a couple of times. I'll just thread my yarn. Okay, what I'm going to do is just find a starting point about where I want my head, the base of my head to be, and I'm just going to go in and out all the way around. I'm just trying to double check and make sure that is where I want my head. I believe so. So I'm just going to pull this through and leave a tail hanging, and come back and just continue to weave in and out all the way around. Pick up a stitch, go under and over each stitch. Or every other one, I should say. Go under, over, under, over. All your stitches going around. Till I get back to this one, and then I'm just going to push my yarn through. I can pull this to give that yarn, bring that tail out a little bit. And you can see there is a stitch in here that the needle did not go through, under or over, because that's just the way it ended, and that's fine. And I'm going to take this, and I want to tie that off really tight. And when I tie it off, it's not going to stay as tight as it is right now. Usually I get one of my sons to help me, and somebody holds a finger there, and oh, it come all undone there. But let's see. So again, we want to just get that as tight as we can. And then try to tie it while it's tight. And then we got to knot it. And then sometimes I just take my yarn and go around, bring that around, and bring this around. So that I just made a loop around the neck. And I'm going to tie it again. Okay, so that was a little rough. I hope all that got on camera. So I'm going to double knot this again just to be secure. And then to get these two strings out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and run them through my needle. So I have them on my needle, and I'm going to find a hole in a stitch here up close to the neck. And I'm just going to run this needle down through the body and pull the yarn out like this. And I'm just going to snip that off. And your end piece will just go up in your body. So I know that this end is going to be my head, so I'm going to go ahead and close this end off. And I do the same thing. Thread my needle, and I want to close this. So I just kind of go in. And I do that twice. What I do is I go in a stitch and out that center hole. And I pull my yarn, but I'm going to go through this loop to tie it off to make a knot there. So I've done that twice, and I feel like that's good enough. So I'm going to take my needle and run the yarn up through the body. And it'll just go in there. So then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to cinch this up. And use my needle here to close this up. So all I do on this part is go through a stitch and out there. And I want to go back through this loop before I pull it too tight. And that kind of knots it up. Now, if you end up with a hole like this and you don't want that hole, you can take your needle and with the yarn on it and pick up about every other stitch. It doesn't have to be exact. Like I might miss 2 or 3. Excuse me. It doesn't have to be exact at all. I might miss 2 or 3 and pick up. But you see, I'm just kind of going around, picking up a stitch here and there. Until I get back to that part. And then I'm just going to pull that tight, and it helps close that hole in. Pull that tight, and I'm going to close this off. And that ties a knot in it. And I'm going to do that one more time because that just makes me feel secure. Okay, and then I'm going to take this needle and thread and poke it through a stitch and just pull it out somewhere. Alright, so now I have my body and my head. Now before I close in the head, I want to add some eyes. So I'm going to get my box of eyes. And decide what eyes I want on my body. So go ahead and decide where you want your eyes. If you don't have safety eyes like this, you can just use yarn and make some eyes. But since I do have some eyes, I'm going to go ahead and go this route. Okay, and then you would take these and go in from the inside and close that. Usually, I have trouble doing that part, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to try. So you got to loosen that back up a little. And then you want to get your eyes and push these on it. Okay. Now we need to close off the head just as we did the bottom. Okay, and I'm going to run this through and come out the back of the head. Snip that. Alright, so now I need to close off the top of the head. Make sure your eyes are where you positioned them. Okay, and I'm gonna just go through and first I'm gonna tie that off. And then if you want to close that up a little more, same thing we did at the bottom, just pick up every other stitch or every couple of stitches. It doesn't have to be exact. Okay, so when you get back around to where you started, just tighten that really tight and it will close up that hole. So then once you close up that hole, go ahead and tie this off again. Just sticking your needle through, pulling that loop, and I'm going to do that twice as always. Okay, once you got that secure, just take your needle, poke it back down through a stitch, and come out somewhere at the back of your head. Pull that through, and you can snip it, and then any strings you have there, just kind of squeeze your head, and those pieces of yarn will just go back up in your project. So now we have our body and head with the eyes in it, and each end is closed up. So now we need to make arms and legs. So we're going to do that with a flower loom. This is a flower loom. It has 12 pegs. You can get these at Hobby Lobby or at Joann's or Michael's. And any of those places, don't forget to use your coupon to get 40% off at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. And I'm not sure if Joann's has 40 or 50% off, but they usually have some good coupons too. So this is what we're going to use to make arms and legs. And our body, we had made 40 rows on the small knitting machine. So on our arms and legs, we're going to do the arms 25 rows. And to get started, we're going to make a slip knot. And this is just the way I make slip knots. There's many ways to make them. Make it ever how you're comfortable doing it. So that's my slip knot. So what we do to start this off, do a drawstring cast on. So we're going to come in behind the first peg, and this is your first peg. And then we're just going to go in and out every peg. Weave in and out till you're back at the beginning. And then this is the last peg, and this is the first peg. We went behind the first peg. We're going to go in front of the last peg, and we're going to go behind the first peg again. And then we're just going to lay this yarn over all the pegs. And you can just do a few pegs at a time. Basically, you're just going to lay it over, and I'm just pulling this tight to secure it with my hand. And we're just going to go around and bring the bottom loop on every other one that has 2 strands of yarn. Bring it over. Okay, so now we're back at the first peg again. So what we're going to do, pull out some yarn, and we're going to go in front of that first peg this time. We're just going to, that peg doesn't have any yarn on the front of it. So we're just going to lay this yarn over that peg, go to the second peg, and kind of half wrap it around. This is called a U-knit. And just let's take the bottom loop strand of yarn over the top. You're just going to do this all the way around. This is called a U-knit, where you just bring it in front, pull it, we're just going to keep doing that all the way around. And this is considered your first row. Okay, so now we're back to row 1. And now we lay, well, that was the last peg. Now we're back to the very first peg. And we just lay this over and do the same thing, just U-knit. We're going to U-knit all the way around. And for the arms, we're going to continue to do this for 25 rows. And for the legs, we're going to do it for 30 rows. So just keep going around until you have 25 rows. So I'm not going to sit here and make you watch me do 25 rows of the same thing over and over. But I want you to know that you just do that same thing for the arms for 25 rows, and then the legs are going to be for 30 rows. So I have another one sitting right here that I've completed. And so what I'm going to show you, and I hate that this is orange yarn on orange. I didn't think about that ending up that way. But what we're going to do is, once you've done this is the arm for 25 rows, take your yarn and go all the way around. That's one time. Go all the way around 2 times, and then snip your yarn. Now, what we're going to do is do a drawstring cast off. So you want to just bring your yarn up through each loop. Just pull it up and out all the way around. And this creates a drawstring, so you can close your arm off. And remember, we did a drawstring cast on, so the other end of the arm will close that way also. Okay, for one leg and one arm, you need to leave a really long tail. And for one arm and leg, you do not need to leave a long tail. And I'm going to show you how to attach these to your body so that you have movable arms and legs. Okay, so we're back to the very beginning. So now we just take these loops off. They are secure. Okay. So then we can just pull that string there. You want to stretch your fabric, stretch out your stitches. Okay, so we can close one end, and we would take our needle and thread and close that off, just as we did on the body. Then you want to stuff your arm with stuffing, and then close this one off. Now, whichever one has your longest string, whichever end has the longest strand, which on this one is the orange is the longest. So that's what I'm going to use to sew my arm on. So this one, I would close it off and snip out that yarn, run it back through there and snip it off. So go ahead and use your stuffing and stuff your arms. Make 2 arms and 2 legs. And I will show you something I did for when I'm making my legs. I'll put a stitch marker on the outside when it's done, just so that I know that was a leg and not an arm. So both of my legs have a stitch marker on the outside, and then I know that they're not the arms, they are the legs. So that's just a tip to help not get those confused. And you can see this particular leg, I have closed off both ends and cut the yarn off. You need to do this to one leg and one arm, so they don't have any strings. The other leg and another arm, close off one end, but leave a tail on one end. So we have a leg, 2 legs, one of them has no strings, and one of them has 1 string. So do that for your legs and your arms. And you can pause the video and then come back once you have all your legs and arms complete. Okay, so now you should have 2 arms. One has no strings, one has a long tail left. And go ahead and close that off, secure it. And then you should have 2 legs. And notice I have stitch markers on my legs so I know those are legs. One doesn't have any strings and one does have a long tail. So I'm going to push my legs over to the side, and we're going to work with the arms for a moment. So get your body and kind of hold your arms up to your body and see how you might like them to look. Look at your body's face and just kind of position your arms and see how you like them. And I'm going to take this pin and kind of put it there just to hold that arm in place. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to put my arm here and just kind of see where I might like that arm. And I'm just going to poke the needle through there to hold it in place. And you can move them around and position them until you get them in a position that you are happy with. I think I'm okay with that. Okay, so you want to take your long tail over here and thread it through a needle. And what you're going to do is take your needle and come through the top of your arm and come out the side about where, come out the side somewhere there, close to the top. Just bring your yarn through there. Let me get that positioned again. I think I need that a little bit higher. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take my needle, push it through the body all the way through, and try to come out the other side about where I have that arm positioned. So pull your needle all the way through. You can take the little pin out of that one. So my yarn came off of my needle, so let me just get that back on there. And you want to go through the arm, through it all the way through to the other side. You want to bring your yarn all the way through, and then you want to go back just one stitch under so that it does have something to grab to. And you want to try to come back to the same hole you have that yarn in. So you went through the arm, now you went one stitch under, and you're going to go back through, trying to go through that same hole. And then the same thing on the body. You want to try to go into the same hole you had your yarn is coming out of. Go all the way through your body and come out the same hole that that yarn goes through. And this time we want to go all the way through that arm. So once you go all the way through that arm, go back through one stitch up, and then just come to the back of your arm, come through, and then let's look and see what we got here. We'll need to tighten all this up, and you may have to pull kind of tight. So that we can get that arm here tightened. So you pull that tight, and this arm feels tighter. This arm feels kind of tight. And so Then we can secure this yarn. What we want to do is kind of go up in the armpit, just bend it out a little, kind of go up in the armpit here and get a stitch. Bring your yarn through, and we're just going to tie it off. Go back through your loop and tie that yarn off, get it good and tight, and go ahead and do it a second time just for security. If you can find a good place to go through, and same thing. Okay, so now we got that good and tight and secure, so we can take our needle and just poke it through and come out somewhere down the, about midway near the arm. Pull that and snip your yarn off. And now our little person here has arms, and you can see that they are movable. Okay, so now we need to add legs. So there's our arms, and we're going to do the same thing with the legs. Position your legs however you want them. Go ahead and thread the leg that has the tail. Okay, you can go ahead and take your yarn and come out just a little ways onto the leg here. Sorry about that. So I'm just going to go down and come out about right here onto my leg. So figure out where you want your legs, and the same thing, just kind of pin them in place until you kind of get a feel for where they're going to go. You want it kind of under the arm. Kind of lining up under the arm, about in the same position as the leg on the other side. I think mine are about even as I'm going to be able to get them. So position them around and play with it a little bit until you get it to where you are happy. That's the main thing, is you're the only one that needs to be happy with it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take my yarn here with the needle on it and go in through the body, go all the way to the other side to about where you want your leg, where you have that pin poked through. Uh-oh. Nope. Sometimes it is hard to get there. Just keep working with it. Okay. So then pull your yarn through. We're going to go through the leg all the way to the other side. I'm going to take this out now. We're going to go through the leg all the way to the other side. And then we're going to go one stitch up or down, whatever's most comfortable there. And then we're going to go back into that same hole and go all the way through to the other side, trying to get the same hole that yarn came through. and then just pull your yarn all the way through. Okay, now take your needle and come through the inside part of your leg, come into the outside of the leg, and then go either down or up one stitch, whatever's works best for this part for you, and according to how it looks on your leg. You just kind of have to use your best judgment. So we're going to come back through right up in the bend of the leg there and just pull the yarn all the way through. And we want to get that good and tight. I feel like this leg might not be tight as this leg, so just kind of play with that and pull your yarn a little more till you get it to the point where you are happy with the outcome. I think I'm going to go back through my leg one more time because this leg just does not feel as tight as that leg. So all I'm going to do is go through my leg, I'm going to go down one stitch and come back through and see if that doesn't make my leg feel tighter. And it does. So now I'm going to just come inside and grab a stitch so I can tie off my yarn. And I'm going to do that a couple of times for security. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, my yarn didn't get quite tight there when I tried to close it off. Okay, so I'm just going to take my yarn, needle, and run it down through the leg and come out somewhere about midway or so, or down lower, it doesn't matter. Pull the yarn through and then snip my yarn. We can take these little stitch markers off. And if you have any yarn pieces sticking out, just kind of manipulate the fabric to make the little pieces go in. And now we have movable legs. So your critter person here should be able to sit up. And they have movable arms. So I'm thinking this looks like a little person. So I'm not going to add any animal ears. Now, if yours doesn't look like a person and you want to add puppy dog ears or rabbit ears or bear ears or something, you can go right ahead and do that. I will be showing more videos in the future of showing to make different animals. This was just something I wanted to get out really quick because I knew someone was getting a knitting machine on Saturday, and I just wanted to give her an idea of things that she could make. And you can take this basic tutorial and make different animals or people or creatures, bears. Just remember to make your body ever how long you want, and then arms and legs. And these arms and legs could have been a little bit shorter. I think it looks about right if it's a person, but if it was going to be an animal, they would have needed to be a little shorter. But I'm pleased with it. And you can manipulate your arms and legs and such to look like feet more. And hands, you can just manipulate that. kind of play with it ever how you can. But there we go. You can make a little hat to go on your person or something if you wanted. But this is how to make a basic animal or person. And I'm very pleased with him. So thanks for joining me for this tutorial. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up so I'll know that you want to see more tutorials. And I will try to do that in the future. But thanks for joining me.